Hi, welcome back to another video. This is part 2 of making a zombie puppet. In the previous video, we made the eyes and the eye mechanism and also put the mask over the skull. In a previous video, even before that, I made some creepy zombie hands. So if you haven't seen those videos, maybe stop right here, go watch those videos first, and then you can come back and catch up to where we are. I'm going to start by making some feet, and I'm going to use the same techniques that I used for the zombie hand, so make sure you've watched that video if you want to see the specifics. Some differences are I am not going to put the metal wires inside to pose this, and I'm just going to stack several pieces of foam here together, connect them together with contact cement. And then I'm going to use a hot wire tool to roughly carve out the shapes. And to refine the shapes, I'm just going to use some scissors to round everything out and add the detail. And now I've got a couple of feet. I'm going to seal them using contact cement. And then once that dries, they'll be ready for paint. I'm using the same kind of paint that I used for the hands, which is liquid latex mixed with paint, and I'm just doing the step of adding the tissue at the same time that I'm painting it. This adds a skin feel to it. I'm using the same paint to paint the head. I don't like the paint that came with the mask, so I'm just going to cover it all completely and then repaint it myself. And you'll see me going back and forth between the head and the feet. I'm doing the same steps for both. It's important to use this liquid latex paint because it sticks really well to latex. If you just use the craft paint directly, then it will just chip and flake off. Now I'm going to do a wash of this light gray color, again mixed with the latex. I've actually added a little bit of water as well. I put it on and then wipe it off with a towel. This gives it kind of a lifeless look. Next, I'm going to do a dark wash, same way. Added a little bit more water to make it a little bit more liquidy. And I'm just painting it on, and it's lighter here than what it will dry. When it dries, it'll be a little bit darker. And then I'm going to do an even darker coat. This has even more water with it. And again, I'm putting it on, wiping it off. All these different colors add a lot of depth and interest into the paint. Now I'm going to start adding some blotches of green. This paint is just the craft paint. I have not mixed it with the liquid latex. I'm just splotching it on and then pretty quickly wiping it off, and it just leaves a slight tint of green. And then I'm going to do the same thing with red. I'm just haphazardly kind of putting the red down and pulling it off, and it just leaves a red tint behind. Now I'm going to start to add more and more detail with some dark color. This has the latex mixed in it. I'm going to paint the mouth and some darkness around the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and cover the tongue. I kind of want it to just disappear. Now I'm going to go over the teeth with the light gray color. It's the same thing we used in the wash previously. And I'm going to let that dry. We'll touch up the veins with a little dry brush with some dark blue. And then back to the teeth with yellow ochre. I'm going to cover the teeth and then wipe it right off. And it gives a gross yellow teeth look. And the painting is done. So let's move on to giving this some hair. I've got some cheap Halloween wigs, and I don't want to just throw the wig on. You could just do that, but I want to customize it. So I'm taking these wigs, and you can see the lines where the hair is growing out. I'm cutting in between them, and you get these long strips of hair. So I'm going to do this to a gray wig and a black wig, and I get all of these various pieces. Here's a chunk from the black wig that has several layers together. And we're going to stick it down using clear silicone caulking. So I'm using the caulking just like glue. Put it down on the skin and then just press the hair pieces onto it. And I'm alternating between the gray and the black. Add a little bit of hair at the temples, just over the ear. And for the top, I have the top of the gray wig. It's this small little, about 1.5-inch section that I did not take apart. And we're just going to glue that straight down. Now the hair is way too long, so I'm going to style it a bit, spend some time cutting the hair and trimming it. Now here's the tongue. This is a novelty tongue that my daughter gave me for my birthday. It's made out of silicone. We're going to glue that in with the silicone caulking. This thing will jiggle and wiggle when the head moves. It's pretty gross. And with that, the head is done. So let's move on to the body. I'm going to build the body out of the same 1-inch upholstery foam that the hands and feet were made out of. And I've got this rectangle. If I bend it in half, then the rounded part will be the shoulders. And this is the hole where the neck will be. So using contact cement, I'm just going to cement most of the way up the side, but I'm going to leave the top little section unglued. And when we stick it together, then we get a nice little torso, a rib cage. Now I'm drawing on here, just kind of trying to imagine where the ribs would be. And I make a big mistake here. I assume that this is the hole that I want to put my arm through to control the puppet. So I go ahead and cut that out, and you can see this is how it would work. You stick your arm through and up into the head. But it was not in the right place, so I had to patch that back up. So with contact cement, I just glued it back together. And I'm going to use pool noodles throughout this. Here I've got a couple of 5-inch chunks that I'm going to use as the shoulders. So with some contact cement inside the torso and on the pool noodle, we're going to just stick those through the shoulder holes and glue them into place. We'll let them stick out just a little bit. This will help us connect the arms to the shoulders later. I'm going to make the pelvis the same way. Using the foam, I'm going to glue the sides and connect it together. And you'll see that I've put them together unevenly. My thought was that that raised part in the back would be the back. Later on, I have to cut it off. But here for the hips, I'm just going to push in the corners. And you can see it makes kind of a pelvis shape. And with that poking up inside, we'll just cut it so that the hole's a little bit bigger. And I'm able to stick pool noodles up in there, just like I did for the shoulder. Now for the bones of this guy, I'm using 1/2-inch PEX pipe. I could use PVC, but it felt like the PEX was lighter, so I chose that instead. I cut lengths to go for upper and lower arm and upper and lower leg. And here I've cut an angle on one side for the elbow, just to help with the hinge joint that's going to happen. And for each of these, you can see they fit right inside of a pool noodle. So I'm going to cut pool noodles that are the same length. And at each end of the pipes, I'm going to put a few holes. I think I put 3 holes in each side. For the ligaments that connect all of the bones to each other, I'm using this 1/2-inch rope. It will fit just inside, and I can use screws and hot glue to keep everything connected together. For the hinge joints, the elbows and the knees, I'm folding the rope in half. This makes it easy to bend in one direction, but not as easy in the side to side. So at each joint, I add a bit of glue, stick the rope in, and then add the screws to hold it tight. And then a lot of times I'll add some glue after as well. Do this on both sides, and we've got a hinge joint. There's our elbow. For the hands that I did in the previous video, I left this wire at the end so that I could join them. So I take some time to kind of loop them around. We'll add the pool noodles to bulk out the bones. The hinge now doesn't quite bend right. We'll fix that later. To connect the hands, I'm using a smaller diameter rope. It's like a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch. It can slide right through the loops that I made, and then we can just stick it into the wrist end of the arm and connect it using the same process of screws and glue. Now, whereas the doubled up rope is good for a hinge joint, the shoulders and the hips are ball and socket joints. They need to move in other directions, so I'm just going to use a single strand of rope. And there we've got our arms. I do the same thing for the legs. The difference is that the feet just glue directly onto the ends of the bones, the lower leg bones. I'll connect the arms and the legs to the body using small sections of PEX pipe that goes inside the pool noodles that we put at the shoulders and the hips. Now let's get them dressed. I have a shirt and some pants here that I got from the thrift store, and we need to mess them up. So we'll start with a wire brush and just like scrape the heck out of them, beat them up, and then we're going to spray paint them. I've got gray, brown, and black. I'm spraying from a distance, and I'm just kind of dusting them randomly. I'm going to use all 3 colors and just mess them up. Then I'll let them dry completely before I continue. I want my zombie to make some noise, so I found a little sound card. I'll put the details of what it is down in the description below, along with affiliate links to purchase any of the things that I'm using in this project. So this lets us record sounds and play them back. And then it needed an amplifier, so this green chip is the amplifier. So I recorded some zombie sounds, and now at the touch of a button, I can play them back. I scooted all of this over onto some generic PCB boards, along with a bunch of buttons. And then I 3D printed some special cases to hold them like this. So I can put it inside. There's a place to connect the power, and the buttons can sit on the top where I'll be able to push them. Remember how the elbow couldn't bend when I put the pool noodle on? This is how I fixed it by just cutting it at an angle, and now it's able to bend freely. So let's start assembling this guy. We'll put this shirt on, and we have to run the arms up through it. Here's our little PEX piece for the shoulder. We'll do the same at the hips. Reinforce it all with glue. And now I'm going to put a sleeve inside for the neck. I just took an old pair of jeans and cut the leg off. I chose this dark gray because I felt like it went well with the zombie. So I'm gluing this down to the foam skull and also to the front of the mask, the front of the throat. This gives us a long sleeve that is the neck. I'm cutting the proper place for the arm placement And that sleeve, the neck sleeve, will come right down. There's a lot of extra latex on the neck, so I'm going to trim that off. Now I'm gluing the sleeve, the neck sleeve, to the body. First the top edge, and I'll trim away the excess fabric. I wrap it up onto the top so that it's got some extra connection points. A lot of stress is going to be on this specific area. So I also glue it down along the sides. This sock is basically going to be lifting the whole torso with my arm. And now I'm going to connect it together, and I made a big mistake here. So a few things that I learned after putting this together and trying it out. Number one, I'm hot gluing it here. I should not have hot glued it. I should use contact cement. The hot glue can't hold the weight of everything, but the contact cement can. The other thing is, I have this area that is higher in the back because I thought I needed to leave this kind of gap in the stomach. It makes the torso too high, so I end up cutting that off at the end. Now I'm gluing in the electronics, the button to the thigh, and I've wrapped the thigh with a roll of foam just to bulk it out a little bit. Do the same to the other thigh. I'll be able to push those buttons through the pant leg to make the various noises. And now I glue all of the rest of the electronics into various places. And then I glue the clothes onto the foam body using hot glue so that they don't slip off. And you can kind of see here how I'm going to leave a button open, and I'll be able to reach inside and control the head. Now this is the hoodie that I'm going to be wearing. I've marked where my elbow is on my right arm, and I'm just cutting a slit there so my arm can go through and up into the zombie. Now I've got a fake hand here that I've glued onto a pool noodle, but this hand is not even close to the same color skin as me. So I just painted it real quickly with the same base color that I used on the zombie. It's much better. So now you can see my arm comes through the bottom, through the hole, and I'm sticking the fake arm in the rest of the sleeve. With hot glue, I'm putting down some Velcro in each of the zombie's hands. He's going to be grabbing onto me, so I locate the position on the hoodie where he's going to be holding on, and hot glue the other side of the Velcro. With some glue, I keep the sleeve connected, and then a little bit of stitching to keep the knees against my body. And we've got these bungee cords on the left side that the feet can go in to hold them up. Now, after testing everything out, this is where I discovered I needed to cut out that extra section. So I cut out that back section and glued it together using contact cement the proper way. And he's all together, so let's take a look. He's so great. It's creepy, and with some practice, I'll be able to really pull off the acting of him. I tried him out at a trunk or treat, and people really seemed to like it. I had a lot of fun making this thing, and I'm excited to have my own zombie puppet. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up to let YouTube know that other people might also like this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Until then, though, don't be bored. Be creative.